Welcome back. Today's industry recap is action-packed. I won't waste any time, beginning with Southwest, who are advancing into their own new era, now exploring the possibility of launching international flights on a long-haul basis. Comments shared by Bob Jordan, the airline's CEO, in an interview with CNBC, highlighted the possibility of this new endeavour, which would just be one of the many changes we've seen implemented across the airline in the last 12 months. The prospective launch of international long-haul flights would be aimed at attracting higher-spending customers, according to Jordan, and is a means to increase overall revenue. However, other ideas, such as growing the premium seating across current and future aircraft, is another endeavour that's also being explored. Additionally, we could see airport lounges in due course too. Internally, Jordan is having significant discussions on how to attract customers who are essentially flying with other US airlines at the moment, because what they get from those airlines, Southwest simply cannot offer. So we're in a position where Southwest needs to find ways to bring people back to the long-standing US carrier for a more diverse means of flying. For example, long-haul routes, premium seating and lounges have not been offered since the company's inception, and therefore for customers that want this option, Southwest is only able to go so far, and these customers will look elsewhere. With additional competition and pressure from internal and external parties to increase revenue, Southwest recognises the need to adapt, and this is all part of the new era that is being put into motion. While it is studying the implementation of many new endeavours, as I touched on about a minute ago, it has moved ahead with many important endeavours in the last 12 months. Effective May 28, following an announcement in March, they confirmed they would begin charging customers for checked baggage. The policy change represents a continued shift in focus for what Southwest has previously long been known for, and now they're evolving. The company believes that this change alone will increase profits and align it with the billions of dollars in revenue that other competitor airlines are generating due to their existing policies. In 2024, we also received the confirmation that the airline would move towards assigned seating and introduced premium seating configurations on its aircraft. The mix of premium and standard is something that could also increase in due course as they analyse the performance and what customers demand from them. With that being said, they say it's a decision that has already received much research, with 86% of future and 80% of existing customers stating their preference for assigned seating rather than an open seat model. Additionally, earlier this year, Southwest moved towards 24/7 operations, offering red-eye flights in a bid to enhance the utilisation of its available aircraft, knowing that the longer the planes spend on the ground, the less money they are making, and this whole new era is part of raising revenues. Southwest has been an airline that's really stuck to what it's known for a very long time, and as other airlines have advanced, arguably they've stayed pretty much the same, and while there's been changes here and there, you'd argue they're missing out on a massive amount of revenue, and while some may be against the changes, Southwest knows they need to be made if they are to survive for the long term. Over to the next story, and Qantas has welcomed a new aircraft type to its fleet, the A321XLR, as part of its own fleet overhaul efforts. The addition of the A321XLR is not just big for Qantas, but it is also the first time the aircraft will be present across the Asia-Pacific region, with the jet being delivered from Airbus's assembly line in Hamburg. Before arriving in Sydney, the plane had just one stop in Bangkok, Thailand, thanks to the limited load, but it does really highlight the capabilities that the XLR model are going to bring to customers, and is now in the hands, obviously as well, of Qantas. The jet will be configured in a two-class layout by the flag carrier, featuring 20 business class seats at the front of the cabin and 177 economy seats in a bid to offer premium options for customers across all services. The services Qantas expects to deploy the A321XLR on are initially domestic ones within the country, but this will develop more as additional A321XLRs are delivered. For example, Qantas has confirmed that they have a very big interest in secondary routes to Asia. This is the real target in the coming years, with underserved cities to get direct connectivity to major Australian capital cities thanks to the addition of these jets. See, in the past, these cities in Asia that have been underserved may have been, while of interest, previously inaccessible to Qantas due to their pre-existing fleet limitations. The beautiful thing about what the A321XLR will bring is it'll change that. Generally speaking, the XLR offers Qantas a perfect enhanced replacement as well for its 737NG, which we know has long been operating across their single-aisle network. Not only does the A321XLR have naturally better performance metrics, but at its core it comes with more capacity and range and will provide greater flexibility on the network to meet growing demand. As Australia's population grows, it becomes an increasingly vital solution to meet demands across capital cities, and particularly then in serving the Asian market, let alone just some of your busiest Australian cities. Qantas currently has 40 of these jets on order, with the aircraft manufacturer confirming that 28 will be headed to the mainline division, and you then will have 12 headed to the low-cost unit Jetstar, which will align with their already existing operations with the A321LR. The XLR just forms fundamentally one of the many parts of this new era also being undertaken at Qantas in terms of fleet. It ranges from planes such as the XLR to the A220 and upwards to the A350-1000, as their reliance on Airbus is set to continue. Over to the final story, and Boeing 787s at Kenya Airways remain grounded, and the airline now expects its financial position to be negatively impacted as a result. Driven by engine maintenance complications, fleet data indicates that 3 of the airline's Dreamliners still remain parked, and this is with 6 active units, bringing the total number of units delivered to 9. Data shows that 5YKZA, 5YKZC, and 5YKZH have been parked in Nairobi for some time due to ongoing maintenance challenges that they are struggling to overcome. You may recall that in early 2025, I did take a look at this story. There were some suggestions at that point that given the groundings and their duration, there could be an in turn major effect on passenger revenue, but at the time then it was still relatively fresh and there was a great deal of uncertainty about when the planes would return. It was unclear how the following months would pan out. Well, now with hindsight and as we pass the midway point of the calendar year, the 787s remain parked, and Kenya Airways says that its revenues for the financial year are expected to be significantly affected. The Dreamliners, which have been pulled from service, have hindered the ability to offer capacity to leading international markets, and have therefore not only led to flight reductions, but also other changes across the operation in a bid to stabilise what remains of the active 787 fleet. Unfortunately, the 787 has been put in a position where it's been one of the hardest hit programs in recent times due to challenges in the maintenance process of engines equipped on the type. Kenya Airways is therefore positioned as not the only customer affected by the maintenance delays and shortages of spare parts. These obstacles, among others, prevent engines from being reapplied to fleets right around the world. There is no one that you can't necessarily escape this, and that has been the real challenge. Every airline is dealing with this in a different manner. Also, every airline sees the effects in different ways. For an airline that has 100 Dreamliners to its name and only sees 5 affected, you argue that while there is an impact, it is able to mitigate that impact far easier. But for an airline that sees more than 25% of the fleet grounded, that has some pretty significant effects, and that is certainly where Kenya Airways are at the moment. That'll conclude today's industry recap. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Appreciate the support. Take care, do be safe, and I'll see you tomorrow for your next industry recap.
And we'll fly.